Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Destini and I'm so excited to have you here today. And we are just gonna dive right into today's topic of the day, toddler tantrums. So if you guys have been following me on Instagram or even on my channel here on YouTube, you have heard me talk about toddler tantrums and the things that my son does during these tantrums that literally drive me insane. And I have found that it was to the point where it was consuming me so much that I wasn't really leaving the house. I wasn't really engaging in things outside of my home. I kind of just shut down a little bit because I was just so overstimulated from the amount of tantrums my toddler was having. And it got to the point where I realized I was not facing the issue, I was just avoiding it. I found that I needed to better understand what was going on with my toddler so that I can be a healthier support for him. I knew that I was reacting in ways that I just didn't feel were useful for him. Okay, he's freaking out, how do I calm it down? I wasn't really trying to find the underlying issues. I was just trying to defuse the bomb while it was going off. So I found that starting from the beginning with these tantrums it's kind of needed. So I started with understanding what they needed to be eating and just drinking and just making sure they were always kind of full and happy in that area. And then I wanted to always kind of understand where they were feeling and why they were feeling it. So I always wanted to kind of put myself in my kid's shoes. And it wasn't something that was ever taught to me or something that was told for me to consider. But one day it just kind of dawned on me, how would I feel? Someone was constantly telling me what to do all day long. Or how to feel. You can't, no, you cannot cry for a half an hour. It's not okay. If I want to cry for a half an hour, I'm going to cry for a half an hour as an adult. Why is it not okay for my toddler to do it? And it really humbled me in that moment. Why am I rushing for my kid to do these things instead of understanding where he was coming from on everything? Now, to be fair, backstory on my son, he does have severe eczema. So a lot of his tantrums does stem from the eczema, and not just the eczema. It will be he has the eczema, he has a flare-up, so now he's lack of sleep, not really eating, and now he's going to school, which he doesn't want to do because he's not really rested, and he's, pretty much starving because he's not really eating, and stuff like that. So for my son, I understand the base of most of it comes from his skin, but even still, I still had to humble myself in that moment and realize, he has skin issues. So that's really where a lot of his emotions, he's just always on edge because he's always irritated. So I felt understanding where our children were coming from was really a good starting point for understanding tantrums. Essentially, come on, honey, we gotta get up, we gotta get it moving. I understand you're upset, but we gotta go, that's unfair. And it didn't dawn on me, and it might be something that everyone knows but me, but for me, it really didn't dawn on me. Anyway, so I always just kind of try to think of it like that. If it were me, how would I feel? That taking that second kind of helps me not react irrationally myself. So that's just kind of something I think to be aware of. And I'm not saying that's always the case, but what I'm saying is that's a good starting point to handling the tantrum, is before reacting irrationally, just kind of taking a step back and saying okay, well, are their needs met fully? And I don't just mean either the food or the drinks. Have they spent time with you one-on-one? Have they been cuddled today? Have they felt love and affection today? These are things that we get so routine that we kind of, not saying that anyone forgets to hug their kids, but what I'm saying is sometimes we forget to slow down, to hold on a little tighter, a little longer, and that might be what our kids need that morning. So just kind of hitting the brakes and understanding their perspectives and validating that was definitely a huge start to how I personally handled my toddler tantrums. And like I said, it slowed me down. It made me kind of okay, wait, I'm not acting on emotion of frustration or overstimulation. I'm checking their needs, and then I'm gonna act on all that. No, I'm just kidding. So like I just said, we talked about understanding our children's emotions. Now we're going to talk about displaying them. So how we react during our moments of frustration. I have found that the yelling portion of my child 9 times out of 10 comes from me yelling throughout the house, like, guys, we gotta go, guys, we need to do this, let's go, blah, 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 like whatever I'm saying. And if I'm mad and I feel like someone's not hearing me, it's like, guys, like, are we not listening? Like, is this what we're gonna do right now? And I found that, like, that wasn't a proper way of displaying my frustrations to my children. So going back to, like, when I understand my child and I try to pause before I react, I check their needs as my number one thing. And then I check, like, myself and my display on how I'm about to react. I'm not saying you can't show emotion, but what I'm saying is there's a proper way of communicating frustration. And I felt like with my son, during his tantrums, he would just, like, wail and scream and do whatever. And I didn't want to be a display of that frustration by, like, throwing the bag down on the ground, or, I don't know, slamming the doors. I don't know. Whatever the case is, I just try to pause and just make sure I'm not displaying anything. For us, it's really the yelling. I do yell a lot, and, like, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, like, lost my voice for like 3 weeks from the amount of yelling I was doing. And I was so exhausted. I was like, I just don't want to yell anymore. I don't want to hear my voice anymore. And then I lost my voice. Then it hit me, like, while I didn't have a voice, what did yelling even do for me? It did nothing except lose my voice. My kid bounces back from a tantrum in T-minus 15 seconds. So really and truly, like, when I talk about handling tantrums, I'm really talking about, like, the emotional ripple effects of them too. Because I would act irrationally or emotionally, and then I would be distraught for the entire day. Like, my heart was broken. I can't believe I said that. I can't believe I did that. And then my child, like, completely forgot about it, and it's like skipping about their day, like, la 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 la. And I'm like, why did I just put myself through all that? I just yelled and screamed and did all these things, and they don't even, like, it doesn't faze them. So I slowed down, and I found that, like, me not raising my voice has gone a long way. And for multiple reasons. One, I think, well, A, I have my voice, so I don't have to lose my voice every 5 seconds. But B, I thought that, like I said, it was a better display of emotions. It was better for my son to see me talk through my frustrations, my anger, my hurt, my crying, tears, whatever it is. It was just better for me to react that way. And I'm not saying it's always going to be the case, because, like, I'm no saint. But what I'm saying is it was a good start, and for myself, on how I handle, like, all that comes with a toddler tantrum. My next tip, and this one is where we start getting into, like, deets. Preparation is, like, essential for me and how I handle my toddler's tantrums. I always try to kind of let him know now, like, where we're going, what we're doing, what time we're leaving. You know, we have 5 more minutes before we leave. This alarm will go off in 5 minutes. If my alarm goes off, like, you know, it's time to get ready. So I've been kind of trying to do that. And this kind of allows him to have his own, like, little independence while also being, like, within a boundary that meets my needs. I found that if I do everything, like, 10 minutes earlier, I'd rather get somewhere earlier than arrive, like, a half an hour later. So doing things a little earlier kind of helps my anxiety be reduced, and then I'm not, like, projecting anxieties onto my children. I have been doing this now for a little bit. It's been working pretty decent for Xavier, really truly getting him ready for school. Doing things like on the weekends and stuff isn't hard to convince him to do, but, like, getting him out of bed to go to school, he's like a 16-year-old boy. He's like, I don't want to. No, I don't want to go. And I'm like, how are you going to be when you go to high school? I don't even know. So I just kind of try to give him that independence while still, like, you know, maintaining the structure. Like, obviously I can't let him run for, like, a free-for-all over here. Like, we have somewhere we have to be. This is our responsibilities. We got to get going, stuff like that. Xavier was up to, like, 5 tantrums a day. Like, that's exhausting. You know, to hear someone cry an obscene amount of times, they're like, holy crap. I'm always, like, a work smarter, not harder type situation here. So, like, how can I just, you know, prepare us for, like, things that are about to come? Like, I know he doesn't like getting ready in the morning, so, you know, giving him this time frame, giving him, like, a visual board. His school made him, like, a little visual board so he could see what he has to do in the morning. Like, these things that kind of help, like, diffuse the situation. Like, it's bound to go off, you know, might go off, he might have a meltdown 4 times out of the, you know, 5-day week. But if I could get one good day, like, I'll take that. I'll take that 100 times if possible. But like, what I'm saying is preparation is good. I've also been doing like redirecting him. Once I get him ready, I'll try to encourage him, like, if you can draw mommy a picture before we leave the house. And like, that kind of helps get him motivated to get out of bed, and he got a little excited. Or sometimes I'll be able to get him to eat eggs before he leaves. Can you stir your eggs for mommy so that we can eat before we leave? So like, that kind of helps, but not always, most of the time. My next tip, patience. It's like, obviously, I'm telling you, you're gonna need it. This is something that I wish someone would have told me before I even thought about having kids. Like, practice patience. And once I became a new mom, like, that whole like sleep while they're sleeping, like, no honey, practice patience. And I wish that was just better explained to me in general, really, in life, but specifically in motherhood. Patience is going to be your best friend, and whatever way that you need to like slow yourself down or give yourself that pace to like be able to be as patient as you need to be with a toddler is going to be extremely helpful in handling a toddler tantrum. Handling a toddler tantrum is just stems internally. Like, ground yourself, prepare yourself, understand everything going around you. Like, it is a mental preparation. Patience, patience, patience. However you can practice it. For me, I know that I work best in a controlled environment as best as I can. So I get up early so that I can get myself ready in a calm manner and just kind of set my tone for the day as relaxed as possible before I start the chaos of the day. If I wake up at 7 o'clock and I have to get my kid up at 7:10 to get him ready, there's no way it's going to be a smooth morning. I don't operate like that. That's who I am personally. If you can operate under that pressure, kudos to you. I admire you. It's just not what I can do. So I practice patience in that manner. I just get up, I kind of breathe, whatever I can do to just slow down for the day. And when it is really bad in the middle of a tantrum, I always try like a 5-7-9 like breathing exercise for anxiety. Breathe in 5, hold 7, exhale 9. Just try to like catch myself slowing down a little bit. It's not like the world is always gonna give my kids something to push against. I'm not trying to avoid complete chaos. I know that they're gonna have to face their obstacles. I'm just, again, talking about how I personally handle them and how I get through it without it like consuming me to the point where I'm like, I'm a horrible mom. I can't even function for the day because I do have anxiety, and those tantrums can be borderline debilitating for me. So, you know, I just try my best. I breathe through it all, practice patience. And I remind myself, like, at the end of the day, it is not my 3-year-old's fault that they have to be somewhere right now. It is not my 3-year-old's fault that, like, he's not going to eat my baked mac and cheese when he prefers Velveeta in a cup over my baked one. Like, it is not my fault that he is like that. It's not his fault that he is like that. And like, just kind of breathe through it and take the punches as they come. This is only to give you a good, clear mind before making the next move in a tantrum. I breathe, I catch myself, I just try to slow it down, and then I act, you know, does he need that time alone? Does he need to be reprimanded in some way? You know, whether it's a timeout, whether it's mommy's gonna leave this room for 5 minutes. That's usually the one I do because it's easier for both of us. Mommy's gonna leave the room for 5 minutes until you're able to talk to mommy. I try really hard to like bring it back down to feelings, and I also let him know that we can't yell at people. Like, that's not how we get a reaction. You know, you can't hit people. That's not how we get what we want. So it's frustrating now, and it takes up more patience out of me and more strength out of me now, but I know that if I kind of do this early on, it could prevent him for like, or all of us really, from future headaches with how he reacts in situations like frustration and anger. My last tip on how I handle my tantrums is waiting until my toddler cools off and talking to them. I am fully aware. People are like, oh my God, he's only 3. Be patient. Like, it'll be fine. I'm aware he's 3. He's also 3 years old and very emotionally driven. He has a big heart, and he is one of the kindest little ones I know, and he is also fully capable of understanding me when I say what you just did with your emotions being very loud was not okay. You cannot act that way towards people because it's not kind. He is fully capable of understanding that. So after every meltdown, I always try to acknowledge what we did and what we can do differently the next time our feelings feel like that. So I'll tell him, like, I understand like your heart was sad, but next time our heart is sad, maybe we can try talking to mommy instead of yelling at mommy. I also found that like a yes and a no at the end of everything, so I know he's understanding me what I'm saying, helped a lot too. Example would be like, you know what, you crying, you were really upset, yes or no? Do you know why you were upset, yes or no? Kind of guide it that way. And once he cools off and we can kind of talk about it, he does seem to understand it. And the reason why I say this is because once his father comes home, he will go up to his father and say, Daddy, I was sad today. And then he explains like what he did during his tantrum. And he will even like, it's not funny. It's funny. He will like mock his like jumping. And he does like this whole display of the tantrum. And he explains himself. And he's 3 years old. And he's a 3-year-old little boy. And he's able to say, I was sad, I was frustrated, you know, and give it back to his dad and tell it back to him. It's not like the most traditional approach to toddler tantrums. It's the best approach that works for us. This is probably going to change 100 times. And it's something that I kind of need to accept with this. So this is going to be what season we are right now with our tantrums. Obviously, as the kids get older and things get a little more easier or complicated, you know, my opinion will change. I personally document with like my kids like what's going on pretty often, so I kind of can gauge back and see like what's working, what's not. For me, these were the 5 things that I noticed were the best and most consistent in like me handling them, but just how I react in them and how I've made having these toddler tantrums feel like less stressful for myself. So I hope that if I can help you in any way, I did. And if you have any tips, leave them down in the comment section. Listen guys, this is a community for us to learn, and that's like my favorite thing about YouTube, and I hope that we can continue to stay connected. And you know, I love to share opinions and I love to hear it back. So tell me what you guys got, and I'm open to all suggestions, as I hope you are open to all of my suggestions that I gave you today. So I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much.